that's one of the things about life, man. It's like, it's just always kind of gonna suck. Like there's gonna be a part of it every day that you wake up. It's gonna be kind of like, unless you're on drugs, unless you're doing drugs, or something like that. Then. But then you never get anywhere. If you're doing drugs all the time, you never get to the places that you want to get to in life. Like that's the thing. But if you're doing drugs, then life doesn't suck as much. But it does. Over the long term, it does. Like you never get anywhere. If you're doing drugs, you feel better, but you never get anywhere. And if you're sober, you get somewhere, but you don't feel good. So it's like, I mean, being sober is better. Getting places is better than not. But it's still, there's just like, and that's the thing too. It's like, one day you'll if you get places, one day you'll wake up and you'll be in a better spot than you were. And that's good. But there's still going to be like the level, there's a level of dissatisfaction that will never go away. I really do believe, I know that. Like, no matter how rich you get, no matter how great of a family you get, no matter what, material things you get in life, there's going to be a level of satisfaction when you wake up in the morning. You're going to say, oh, fuck, I'm here. I got to do this again. Like, every fucking, like, I don't think there's a getting away from it. Yes, there's some good things. If you wake up next to your wife, you get to fuck her. You get to, hang out with your kids or whatever. All that's great. But when you lay down at night and when you wake up in the morning, there's the last thought you have and the first thought you have is, oh, fuck. Like, I got to do this again. And I'm not being negative. I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer on life. It is what it is. It's a gift to have. I'm grateful to fucking have it, right? But it's like there's just a reality of it where it's like it's always going to be kind of shitty. That's why people do drugs. People do drugs so that it's not as shitty. But if you do the drugs, you never get anywhere, and it just never gets better. That's the thing, is that I don't think it ever gets like really better. And again, I'm not being negative. I'm not trying to say like life sucks. I'm just saying there's like a baseline level of like uncomfortability of life. I don't care who you are, like you have to admit that. Like life, there's a certain part of life where it's just like it kind of sucks. Some people wouldn't. I don't know if there will be people who will hear that and won't like it. I know that. I know people. And some people don't like to think like that, but I think it's a reality. Whether or not you're like very conscious of it. People are very involved at distracting themselves. This is the thing. People will go to great lengths to distract themselves from their true feelings and their true emotions and their true situation. People are busy. People like to stay busy. And that's a good thing. Like, you should stay busy. That's a great tactic. Being busy is like working is like the only thing that keeps my mind off of that shit, or doing drugs. But it's like, there's just, and some people more than others probably feel this way, but it's like there's a little bit of life that like just sucks. And you really can't get away from it. And you got to just kind of accept it. I think you have to accept it and be like, yeah, that's kind of what it is. Because what are you going to do? It doesn't matter what you get out of life. Like, it's never going to go away. You're never going to have a perfect life. There's always going to be even a little bit of it that just sucks. And you're just like, I got to do this again. But that's bearing the cross, man. That's you got to fucking do it anyways. I don't care. Like, you got to do it anyways. So, getting high, being fucked up isn't the answer, even though it gets you out of here. But like, there's something to just suffer. You got to suffer in noble silence. And I know people won't want to hear this. I got family members I know that like they're the type of people who would never want to hear a talk like this. But it's just the fact that they ignore those realities, or they keep themselves so occupied with their routine or whatever it is that they don't face that aspect of it. I don't know what that does to a person. If you're so caught up in the matrix, you're so lost in the presentation of self that you are engaged in life. Like, we all have this societal role which we play, and we put ourselves in this position and be this thing and be this person to get by as good as possible. And it's like some people just live a whole life. That's the persona. People project an aspect of themselves they think of is going to fit in best to the world. And it's like, you have to do that. Everybody does that in some way. I'm doing it right now. You have to in some way. I mean, I'm not really around anybody else, but talking, theoretically, speaking to other people. But it's like, I'm not very good at that, like putting that on, even though it's like you do have to do it. If you just walk around the world being yourself all the time, people are gonna be you're insane. But but some people do that more or less. I believe, and it's like the people that are constantly living in a persona, some figment of society's imagination of what you should be. They don't really think about that type of stuff, but it doesn't matter, because it's like those emotions and yourself doesn't go away. Like you can stack projections and personalities on top of each other, but your true self is still there, and it's still experiencing all the things in the same amount as if you were consciously like embodying it. So it's like you're still feeling the effects, but that's why people fucking snap. That's why people go crazy. You've seen people lose it. People like kill their whole family. People like drive their car off a cliff, and it's like, oh, what happened to him? I thought well, it's because everything in his life was bubbling under the. Like, if you don't check in with yourself, if you don't understand yourself to that level, at the level of yourself, not the persona, not the bullshit you put on the world, but the actual person, the actual entity that you are, your real self. Like, if you don't understand what that is going through, what you are actually going through, you'll fucking snap. So this is what I'm saying. I know some people don't want to fucking hear this type of shit, but it's like, you have to touch that. Go touch that fucking suffering that we all go through in life, because it's like, if you don't, like, it's just gonna swing and hit you in the back of the head, because it's coming. It's like a pendulum. Like, it's gonna come. It doesn't go away just because you ignore it. That's the thing. Like, things in life don't go away just because you ignore them. So you just gotta touch it. You gotta feel it, and it ain't that bad. And you can't get rid of it. So may as well just fucking bear it best you can. Because that's the thing, man. Is like, when you say things out loud, they become real. So it takes like the potential of a thought. It takes the potential of some sort of conceptualization and brings it into the world and actually puts it, instantiates it real. It instantiates it in reality. It's just like when you're working through a problem and you're able to actually vocalize and verbalize and get out verbally. You can do that in writing too. I guess writing is a way to do it as well, to process things. But it's just like when you're able to put things out into the world, they become real, and then you have a place to analyze it. You can actually analyze it from that perspective. It's also the same thing. It's like there's like a paradoxical aspect of it where it's not really real until it's said. Things live in a space of potential in your mind. Like, you can go to the mind's eye and try to look at whatever, man. That's where dreams live in a world of potential too. Like, are dreams real? Well, they're not real in the real world. They're not as real as like this table or the refrigerator. It doesn't mean they're not real. In some realm, the realm of infinite potential, perhaps. But the things here are tangible, and we're able to reference them. But it's like there's a space that lives between that, and it's like when you get lost in your head, when you get lost in your thoughts. Like, you're trapped in a world that hasn't been realized, and you're trying to look at things in a sense that are just shadows of a reality, which is, I think people have anxieties in that sense, where it's like if you're in your head too much, you're living in a world of infinite potential, and that's what anxiety is. That's what anxiety is. It's like not having I know my hair looks so bad, but shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear it. Like, anxiety is uncertainty. It's having too many options. Anxiety is not having chosen. Anxiety is presented with a bunch of pathways and not moving down them and sitting there and looking at them and wondering, if you go this way, you'll get this. If you go that way, you'll get that. If I go this way, I'll get this, and all that shit. And it just leads to this place where you're in this analytical quagmire. That's what your mind is. The mind is like a ricocheting, empty gymnasium where the thoughts are just bouncing off the walls, and you're standing there in the corner staring up at them. And one thing, it's great because those thoughts could come. Think of the thoughts just shooting around in the corners and the rafters, and then 6 of them come down and form whatever you want, right? Because you can take your thoughts and make them real. That's the thing, is the thought is the projected potential of life. They will show up in the real world. Your thoughts will show up in the real world. But it's like if you're living in a place where your thoughts are too varied or too, I don't know how other people live their lives, but it's like in my head, there's so much going on. There's too much going on up there. So it's like to be able to verbalize and vocalize it, it makes it real. And it's like, so it takes it out of the potential, and it makes it legitimately what it is. And then you're able to understand it for what it is. And it's that moment between the two, the moment where it's coming out of your head and through your mouth. It's like that. It's the pipeline of instantiation. It's that moment where things turn from the potential into the reality. But it's like that. It happens in a paradoxical notion. Like the notion is at once infinite and then singular. So it's like those things are existing in conjunction. Like there isn't really a difference between whatever, the infinite possibilities, and then the ones that show up in life don't have a distance between them. That's what we know this about the universe, the multitude of possibilities, and then they reference themselves. They are connected to themselves. So it's like it's not like one doesn't exist, but it's when our perception is looking at the infinite possibilities, and we're stuck in a place where we have an analytical framework which is including everything. It's almost impossible to really focus. You can't focus. But when you open it up and give the chance for something to come through, when it comes through, it comes through from the place of selection. And that process is I think it's not necessarily done in like a conscious manner. It cannot be done in a conscious manner. This is the thing. It's like when you're doing things in the best way that you can, when someone really talented at something is doing something, it's unconscious. That's what they say. He was going dumb. He was unconscious because you don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about it. And that's when things are really flowing through that place. It's like the thinking about it is the analysis of the infinite. Right? And then when we're living in the real world, it's things have instantiated themselves and pulled themselves out of the infinite potential into reality. And there's that pipeline. Things get sucked down into the place that they are. And that motion is infinitely tied to everything. But it comes through in that moment. It's actually impossible to explain. It's the paradoxical nature of reality, which is self-referential because it places itself upon itself and it's predicated upon itself, and it's actually impossible to extricate any aspect of the infinite from itself. That's an impossible notion to understand. I can't. You can understand it through like visualizations, or like obviously we understand this world and the things that happen here, so that's the one side, and then but the infinite is impossible to understand, the vastness. But then it's the interconnectedness of things, and then the referential notions that things are the same and they don't have distance between them. It's the space-time aspect of it, where we don't really have an ability to disconnect, we don't have an ability to connect things in the way that they are in our brains, because the framework that things are the way that things relate to each other is so twisted in on itself. It's so twisted in on itself that we don't have the ability in our three-dimensional world, or even our mental world, which is the same. Like I said, I'm giving you the analogy of a gymnasium with a bunch of thoughts flowing around it like light or like fireflies. It's like that's so far off from what that's not what it is. That's my best way to fucking describe it. Like we have an understanding of what that is. We have like a rough visual, but it's like things that are real are easier to comprehend. The flitting possibilities of infinity can only be, that's anxiety inducing. That's what it is, man. So people that get lost in their heads, it makes sense, right? Because there's just so much. But when things become real, they become manageable. That's just like being able to put it down like that, being able to understand it like that in that framework, and then having it come from that place and exist here and also there, is through that vector. And it's like it's a piece of reality now. That's the thing, it's a piece of reality. Like it's real. It's true. When it's real, it's true. Like that, things that are real are true. There's such that is true in the life that we live, and then there's the eternal truths that we see reflections in the life that we live. So like we can see a glimpse to eternity in the life in this place. We all feel that. We feel a connection. That's the thing, is we feel the connection between this life and then whatever is beyond, the framework, the rules, the mathematics that underlie the nature of what is the universe, reality, all of it. And it's like that connection. We get glimpses into truth through the world that we live in here. And that's part of it too that's confusing, is like, what is the truth, the things that become real? Are they true because they're real, or are they true because they're true? Is there like an infinite truth that actually exists beyond this place, beyond this world? Or is it the illusion of things being as they are, and then having them have some sort of reference to infinity and the greater aspects of things, which are components of everything? Like whether or not there is some sort of beyond, or if we just imagine that because it gives us some sort of reference point for this place. I don't know. Does it even really matter at some point if we relate to this world more than we do to some other? But it seems like things come from some other place. We don't really know if there's the connection between the worlds that we live in, the infinite spaces in our minds, or if that's really a place. Right? We're trying to put ourselves in the shoes of some other being almost when we think about this stuff, because we only have this life in this world and our experiences there within. And does that even match up to anything external, or is it just a hologram that we have to project to give ourselves understanding of ourselves? It almost doesn't matter, because like when it comes to truth, it's like there's truths that we feel, there's truths there's known truths, there's things that have been proven true here, but then when you hear something that's true, it's true. To define it, to predicate it on itself, it's like, if it's true, that we have, like, conceptually, things that are real and true are true and real. Forget the mechanics, like, it when you hear it. It's like you come to the place in your life where you just have to you have to be able to say to yourself, I'll figure it out the next time. The next time this comes up, I'll just figure it out. Then that puts everything that you're considering, all the considerations that are left inside your mental, everything that is wandering around inside your brain. Once you've dealt with it, once you've understood it, once you can actually say that to yourself, once you can actually say to yourself, I'll get it, I'll deal with it when it comes up again. And it's like you don't have any reason to be dealing with it in the near term. Like, that's what it is, man. Like, you've been able to offload it until the next time it encounters. You've been able to offload it to the real. That's what it is. You've been able to offload it to the real world. It enters the real world now. Now it's in a place where it's like, if you do encounter it, you encounter it in the space where it's reality. You've come up against it. You failed. You've learned from it. You've overcome it, and you've been able to deal with it. Next time it comes up again, you have no problem dealing with it, because that's what happens, is that you put it in a place where you'd be able to deal with it in the real world. You deal with it the next time. You just say to yourself, whatever you consider that thing, you say, I'm going to deal with it the next time. And what that does, it alleviates the stress that you have when you consider things in the potentiality of, of the ether, of the endless potential of life. Like, if anything could happen, then how could you ever focus on one thing? How could you ever be unstressed? How could you ever have no anxiety? Because the anxiety comes from the unknown. That's the thing. The anxiety comes from the uncertainty of not knowing how it's going to go and not knowing how it's going to be addressed. All of that is removed if you say, we'll deal with it when it comes up. And I guess some people live like that eternally. They're probably kind of dumb because they don't really have the faculties or the proclivities to address things. But it's like there is a paradoxical aspect of it where it's like you have to learn from this shit. Thinking is like exercising. You're exercising your problem solving skills. You're saying, when this does come up again, how am I going to deal with it? And it's just like you have to go over that in your mind a million times. But then when you figure it out, you can stop thinking about it. The problem is people don't want to figure it out. People will just ignore it. Or people will put it in a place where they're constantly focusing on it to the point where it's like it's been overanalyzed. There's no reason to go over this again. Like, just put it in the real world. put it in the real world, just throw it there, and when it comes up, you're ready, man. It's shit that lives in your brain. Like, what you've learned lives in your brain. You have the skills to do it. There's no reason to fucking go over something over and over and over again. Now, it's like, there are some things that need to be practiced to be ready to, you have to constantly be on your game. But if you're constantly being on your game and living your life in the world, and you're able to bring up the memories that you have and the skills that you have and the lesson that you've learned at the time that is required, like, that's a skill in and of itself, being able to deal with stuff in the moment, in the situation that is being called for. And it's like, you don't have to deal with all the potentials of life. You could just deal with the real world. I mean, there's some level of requirement for going over the hypothetical, because that's where you get the ability to transcend this person you are now. Is you put yourself mentally in the position where you've done it virtually, and then from there you extrapolate it to the real world, and you get the ability to fucking actually do it. But it's like, there's a point where it's like you're overdoing it, and you just gotta say, we'll deal with it when it comes up. Dude, because sometimes you just gotta live life, man. It's like, you're doing the things in your life that are there to do, and you're doing it, and it's just like there to do it. And it's, what are you gonna do except for do it? And it's like, at a certain point, it's like you tried to do it too much, and it's like there's not much else to do other than just do it. Like, that's the fucking premise of life, basically. It's just to do the things that you need to do. And it's like, why do we spend so much time doing other things? You know? What's up with that? What's up with humanity's proclivity to focus on the wrong things? It's very strange, because it feels like if we were giving the things that we need to do to life, then we would get the things that we needed out of life. But so many times people choose not to do the things that will get them what they want, or get them what they need in life. Or maybe they're just distracted from it, or maybe they don't even have the ability to do it, or maybe they don't really have the fucking mindset that is required for them to get there. Or maybe they're just in a situation, in a place where they can't really analyze themselves in the context of themselves, and they're just lost in some other conceptualization of something else. And it's like they can't run from the past. Of course you can't run from the past, but you can't run from yourself, or the thing that you think you are, or the life that you think you're supposed to live. And if you get faced with an aspect of it which isn't what you want it to be, you just start to lose all of yourself, and then you go in the wrong direction. But at the end of the day, the question really is, like, why is that an aspect of life? Why are these paths laid out that are incorrect? Why is there options for failure? What is it about life that gives us this avenue to misery? Like, why? What is the thing that puts that before us? It's like, did I ask for this? Well, in my philosophy, the answer is yes. But it's like certain things come around and you just have certain experiences, and it's like, what is there? It seems sometimes it seems random. It's like you just can't really put yourself in the position where you need to be the person that is driving the experience all the time, but you understand that you're the one who's really deciding what you want to see and what you want to get, and then you get it, and it's like you can't blame anybody else. But then sometimes it's just like you really can't pin the outcomes on anything, or it just seems you don't even know, you can't even track yourself. This is where it's like there starts to be some like fatalist aspect, not even saying fatalist in the negative connotation, just in the connotation that life has the outcomes that it has. It's like, where do you fit into that? Like, where do you fit into that? You know what I mean? Like, where do you fit into that if life is just something that happens? We have this illusion that we're a part of it. It's like, if that's the case, then bring it, get something. You just have to appeal to something bigger. I'm not asking for any other thing other than the thing that I'm supposed to have. And if the thing that I'm supposed to have is what I have, then there's no complaining to do. That's the thing. You'd like to know. That's what I'd like. I'd like to know what the answer is. That's what I've always just wanted to know. But it seems that life doesn't want to give us the real story. Just won't give it up. But it's like you get through it, man. You figure out a way through it, and you just have to keep going. And it's like some days are better than others, and some days kind of suck, and it's all just a part of what it is. Like, what are you gonna really do at the end of the day? You have to figure out what it is. And I swear to God, one day I will climb out of this reality, and I will find whatever is there, forcing us to go through this, and I will strangle it to death, and end this all once and for all. I promise that. Dude, this is the thing about society's gridlock on people's psyches. Like, you gotta understand the level of delusion that the average person in society lives in. Like, most people are absolutely fucking fundamentally broken in the way they conceive the world because they are tied inextricably from the circumstances with which maintain them. This is the thing about culture, man. Like, we have lost the ability to truly discern what life is because we are so ingratiated and embossed in these systems of maintenance, these things that maintain what we are, these things that hold us true to the things that make us feel like things are secure. The security is the thing that keeps us inside of ourselves. Like, that's the thing, and being inside of yourself is not a good thing, not necessarily. Now, there's some level of security which needs to be maintained in a life, but if you are not able to do it, if you are not able to get outside of yourself to see the forest above the trees, as they say, like, man, people will talk all the time about, various problems people have when they themselves are absolutely wrapped in a delusion. You're living in a delusion. You're living a life that is so controlled in all aspects that you really have no idea who you are outside of that. And some people have never even left the town they're born in. It's like, and they think that they have the answer, and they cry for the ills of the world. The ills of the world are within your soul because you don't even have any idea or access to the true self that you are. You will live essentially fully in a world which is maintained culturally. That means that you are not able to have any awareness of that with which is outside of it. And do you think that everything that the world maintains and holds is within your cultural experience? It's foolishness. So it's like people will give you advice from inside of their culture more. It's like these are the last people to ever tell you anything about life. These are people who, dude, this is why you look at different societies and the different disagreements between various cultures and the way that they operate. It's like we have strayed so far from what we are. Like, do you understand that? Like, that is the reason that of these disagreements. You think about religious disagreements, you think about cultural disagreements. People can't even understand each other anymore. Like, that is the reason for it, is because we are so lost. If you can't see that you are lost inside, I don't want to call it a prison to make it sound like you're fucking stuck in it, but it is somewhat of a constraint for people. And that's the thing, is they'll like lament the ills of the world from inside this essentially penitentiary, this referential world with which everything is everything, even your cultural system, your morality. The basis for your morality is defined on the things that give you security. That's what people don't understand. This people don't understand, like, the situation that they're in. Like, you do not have a full picture of the world at all if you are considering something from the situation, which, if you stand in a situation that is culturally defined, you have no idea of what the world is. And so for anyone to make any adjudications about how things are, any ills, any misguided, misdeeds that are done in the world, this is what you say. A lot of people in this day and age try to, these social justice warriors, these people that talk a lot about the greater good, is like, you don't understand anything about morality. You are completely based in a cultural instantiation. Like, you don't have any connection to anything that has like a greater ideation. We don't even have the spiritual, like, we don't even have the religious. Like, it's all pretend. All of it is pretend. You got to understand, all of it is predicated on some sort of culture or momentum. Like, this all has some sort of reward system which is within the culture, because it has to be, because all the communication is referred to itself through the lens of the culture. You got to understand, like, what are you looking at? How are you analyzing things? Like, where are you standing? What gives you any sort of idea into with which is defined, like the norms, like societal norms. That's just one place to look at. Like, look how much they vary across cultures. That alone should tell you the arbitrary nature of any sort of expectations that people have for the world, the expectations that you have for and of course I'm saying this, like, this will fall on concrete ears. Like, people won't listen to this for the most part, because people don't want to, because what I'm doing is I'm pushing you outside of the culture a little bit, like a little bit out of that cultural security, and people don't want to hear that. Some people just can't even handle a second of being in any situation where they're outside of it, outside of the thing which gives them the security, which gives them the feeling of, the safety. It's the safety net of culture. People don't like that. So even me saying this right now will put people in a place where they're like, "I'll turn it off. I don't want to hear it." But it's instinctual. It's not even a rational thought. That's just coming from the emotional system. That's the fucking limbic system, man. That's the reptilian brain. That you don't want to threaten the thing that keeps you safe. And most people are living 100% in a culturally defined life. Like, it's all, everything that you have is given to you through the culture. If you didn't have that, what would you be? Well, you certainly wouldn't have the same ideas and thoughts that you have now. Imagine if you were born in a different place in time. Imagine if you were born in a different era. Imagine if you were born in a different country. Imagine if you were born in some other part of the cosmos. You wouldn't even understand things in the same way. And so your conceptualizations of right or wrong, your ideas to say on a grander scale that you have some sort of placement to give to the ills of the world, like, you really have no clue. And that right there is the rich comedy. That is the very, very rich comedy of this, is that the people that are looking out at the world from inside of those constraints they have the notion that they know right from wrong. They have the notion that they are in some sort of, they have the audacity. They have like they have a righteousness to them. Like, they think that the things that they do are right. That is what's funny, is the certainty. The certainty of those people that are defined in that way is hilarious. That's the joke. That's the rich joke at the end of it, when you turn it around on its head and realize that it's based on nothing. It's not based on nothing. It's not to devalue it 100%, but it is to say, understand that it's relative. All of it is relative. Like, you don't have any idea what the truth. You don't have any idea what the true nature is. So for you to give any sort of statement is just so incorrect. That's the humor in it. That's the humor in it, man. That's the guy who, that's the homeless guy on the street who thinks he's the king. That's the homeless guy who thinks he's the king of the block. That's the delusion. That's what it's not sad to one. At one point, it's not sad. It is a little bit sad, but it's more funny. It's more just a joke. The humor is the juxtaposition between the certainty with which those people present their ideas and self, and then the uncertainty with which you're actually predicated upon the world. Like, you're actually tethered to nothing. You actually have nothing outside of that which is binding you to any sort of referential sense of self. And your sense of self is not predicated on the culture. That's the reality. So that there is a you somewhere that you haven't touched. And so, like, those people, like those normal people who are so defined in that way are actually those are the crazy ones. Right? That's what you realize when you step outside of it and you look at those people and you see how certain they are that they're right, that what they are doing is correct. That's where you find, man, that's where it's like, that's the true craziness. It's that those people are thinking they're certain, like, but it's like, it's all about the relative perspective. Like, if you're looking at it from the outside, you're like, these people are crazy. And if you're looking at it, like, looking at the outside from the inside, that's like, those people are crazy. But the truth is, the uncertainty is universal. There really is no predication on there's nothing to hold on to at the end. That's the thing about life, man, is there's nothing to hold on to at the end. And you can try all your life to fucking tether yourself to things. It ain't gonna work. Because we all leave the planet at some point. We're gonna go back to wherever we came from. And if you think you can people want to hold on forever. People want to hold on to this shit, man. They want to be comfortable. They want to be secure. It's impossible. And that's what I'm saying. That's the point of this, is that it's funny. That's the humor, is the certainty with which those people present themselves in an absolutely uncertain reality. But they think that they're sitting there and they have everything figured out. And truly, it's like a glass house floating in space. It's like one fucking stone and it's broken. And then where are they? Life isn't about doing what you want. I mean, for the most part, it is. Maybe I have it wrong. Maybe I have it wrong. But it's like you gotta put in the time to do the shit that gets you where you want to go. It's not like every day is gonna be a fucking party. If you think that, you're crazy. But it's like there is some part of it where it's like if it's not good, if none of it's fun, then that's bad too. It's like, yeah, dude, you have to like do enough in your life to like be the person to get the stuff that you need out of life, but you can't go so far in that direction that you like literally like make other people hate you. See, that's the thing. That's what I've said before is like you have to be likable to a certain extent. You can't be like too nice in life because you're not going to be able to get what you want if you're too nice. But if you're like eternally selfish and a douchebag, like you're eventually going to get what's coming to you. Like you can't act like that and expect not to get the fucking wrath of the world coming after you because that's just what happens. So it's like I see so many people that want to be like a tough guy. And it's like, sure, be a tough guy all you want. It's good. You kind of have to be at a certain level, right? You kind of have to have a little bit of that. But if you do it too much, you're going to, what's the term I'm looking for? What's the term? You're going to shoot yourself in the foot. You're going to ruin your own, whatever you're looking to get, you're going to ruin it because you're going to be such a douchebag that everybody's turned off and nobody wants anything to do with you. And so it's like people need to learn to balance that. Like you can't be such a piece of shit that everybody hates you. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like people want to be like this endlessly douchebag person because you might get some stuff, you might get some bitches, you might get some money, you might get something, you might get some people to follow you around and do your bidding, sure. But it's like you're not going to get lasting success if you're just eternally a douchebag. And everybody knows that. But people need to find, it seems that people just need to find out for themselves. So that's the thing that I just like, the people that don't get that are they end up in jail or dead or just like alone and by themselves because you've ruined everything in your life. So if you can't grow up at some point and learn that you need to fit in with society or like get people on your side. Now people are more or less devious about, there's people that are, you know, they take that, they're not as upfront with their ambition. It's not even ambitions. It's just the understanding that there's a requirement for like a garnering of community or taking into account the other people around you as opposed to just being eternally selfish. Even though being selfish to an extent gets you what you want. But you can't do it too much. Otherwise you're fucked. And it's like, again, everybody knows that shit, so. The reality is sometimes you need to tell people to shut the fuck up. Like there's some people on the planet that literally will just run their mouth all fucking day. And if they're not told to stop, then they will just continue to do it. They need to be told explicitly, stop what you're doing is wrong, please shut the fuck up. And every situation obviously calls for a little bit of nuance and you gotta actually address what they're saying and fucking dress them down to their behavior and call them out for their behavior. But it's like, this is the thing that people just allow people to get away with whatever the fuck they want. It can't be allowed. That's what people need to understand. It cannot be allowed. People need to be put in a place where they are accountable for their behavior and they're behaving honestly. If this isn't done on a societal level, which it's definitely not happening, there needs to be agents of correcting. There needs to be correctation. That is occurring. I don't even know if that's a word, but it really needs to happen because if we allow these people to continue to do what they do, then it will be a problem. It will be a problem for the general society because you have a bunch of people running around telling lies. When that ends up happening, things fall apart because lies don't hold up. If you have a society built on lies and a society built by liars, we're fucked. So this is what needs to happen is we need to have people come into the fucking space and tell people to shut the fuck up when they're lying. It has to happen. You have to be able to do it. It really doesn't even matter where you are, what you're doing. It needs to be stopped. It needs to be actively stopped. And if it doesn't happen, we're fucked. It is what it is. The things in this lifetime that are going to lead you out of this lifetime are not the things that are going to keep you in this lifetime. If you need to transcend yourself, then you need to get out of here. That's the fucking fact. So if you're focusing on the things that are going to keep you here mentally, spiritually, physically, everything. Okay, the physically, not as, don't listen to that one, but we need to transcend, the focus on the things that are the material, the focus on the things that are ephemeral, the focus on the things that are transient. There are eternal things that work in this lifetime, and most of them which are related to the ego, related to the emotions, related to the imperception of life with which we experience here in this physical realm. It is not eternal. And the eternal and those who are not focused on it will never meet. This is what I will say. There is a transcendence beyond this. This place is not the place. And if you're focusing on the things of this place, you will not get out of this place. And the goal of this is to get out of this place. I promise you that. Not until it's your time. And you don't get out without doing the work. That's the point. You want to try to cheat, you find yourself back at the starting place immediately. The things that are going to remove you from yourself are the things that you have to face. And they are the things that will bring you out of here and out of your suffering. The suffering is imperceptible. The suffering is momentary. The suffering lives a life on the ground. The ground is not the place where you want to be. You want to be beyond anything that has itself chained to life. And those who are chained to life will try to chain you to it as well. Now, I'm not saying, I don't want people to refer and think that I'm saying to leave before your time. It's not the point. It's actually opposite of the point. If you don't do the things you need to do here, you'll never get out. They'll keep you here forever. Okay, so you face the eternal and you sprint towards it. But we sprint in place because we cannot run faster than ourselves. Snapchat, man, there's so many little idiots on here. It's just like, you get bored. You get bored of dealing with the people on this fucking app. Like, you guys are so stupid. And it's not that individually you're bad people, or even that you're not even really that boring people, but just like as a collective, being faced with this large group of people that's like at a removed distance. So it's just the very concept of your existence that's annoying to me. But it's like, it's not because I'm not interested in talking to you. It's that I'm not interested in like your sense of being alive, if that makes sense. And it's not to be disrespectful. It's not to say that, oh, you shouldn't be alive. It's to say I'm not interested in you. The very fact that you're a person on the earth that exists is a turnoff. And it's not to be, I know it sounds rude. It sounds like I'm being disrespectful. What I'm actually being is just bored. I'm bored of these people are uninteresting and just have nothing really to offer. And it's it gets old. That's what I'm saying. It's like it's stale and it's old. What is the concept? What is something that's boring? What is boring? Boring is something that you don't even like looking at anymore. Like, you guys aren't even attractive anymore. That's what it's become. Is it's a bunch of people, and it's not to say that you aren't attractive. Like, there are a bunch of attractive women on here, but I'm saying the point is that it becomes, when you're looked at as a group, it's just, you can't even focus. You can't even focus on anything. It's too much. It's far too much. And it can't be analyzed. It can't be understood because it's just too much volume. And you get bored of it. You get sick and tired of it, truly. And it just is what it is. It's one of the things about life, man. Is people just love to fucking complain. People love to complain about their own choices, to complain about their own decisions, to complain about their own circumstances that they made and they decided to be in. Their own choices that they make, they complain all day about them. It's like, it's your fucking life. Do whatever the fuck you want to do. And stop complaining about the shit that you get. You decided to get it. You wanted it. Whatever your fucking life is, you wanted it. So stop fucking bitching about it. Stop complaining. It's exactly what you wanted. It's your life. Do whatever you want. Sitting there and looking around and making a lot of noise. Dude, this is the thing. People just want attention. People just want attention. This is a lot of what it is. People don't actually really care that much about anything. It's people that are complaining are oftentimes just saying shit to be heard. That's what a lot of people are doing, man. Is they're just fucking talking. You can't pay attention to most people. It really is true. It's an embarrassing. We're an embarrassing species as humans. Truly, we embarrass ourselves almost at all times. You can't even walk outside the door. You can't even really give anybody. You can't really seriously pay attention to people. They're too embarrassing. It's true. And it's one of the things about life I always say, man, is that people get what they deserve. Like, this rule is unyielding. This doesn't change. Like, you get what you deserve. This is why when you go, this is what the interesting thing is when you go to like a fast food place, if you go to a KFC and the guy behind the counter is being rude, you gotta understand, like, that guy's working at a KFC because he's a rude person. Like, the people who work, like, if you go up into like, different corporations, different businesses, and people in like higher positions, yeah, you might get a couple rude people here and there, but for the most part, people are gonna act in like a respectable way. That's why when you ask to talk to the manager when you're on customer service on the phone, the first person you talk to is rude, and the manager is rarely rude. Sometimes the manager will be rude, but like rarely the manager will be rude. It's because the rude people don't get promoted. The rude people don't get a better job than KFC. That's where they work, because what their attitude gets them. People get what they deserve. And so it's like people don't start working at KFC and then become rude. They're working there because that's what they deserve. That's the type of person who works at KFC for 30 years is the type of person who deserves that. Like, that's what their behavior brings them. So it's like, I expect nothing less than rude people when I go to a KFC, because that's what those people act like. That's why they're working there. It's not the other way around. And the other side too, like, not everybody that works some people work at those places and they're really friendly, and they're really, they got great customer service, whatever. Those people won't be working there very long because they got talents, they got abilities, they got social skills that are going to bring them above that level, right? Like, that's what it is that people get what they deserve. Like, if they deserve more, they'll get more. If they don't, they won't. And it's like, man, it's just, people want to complain about their lives, but there's no complaining because you get exactly what you deserve. It's like, whatever you have is what you have deserved. You've earned it. You've earned whatever you have in your life. Whatever the fuck it is, whether it's good, bad, beautiful, ugly, doesn't even matter. And whatever you got, that's what you fucking deserve, because that's what you brought to yourself. The way that you behave, the way you act on a daily basis, all that shit, man. It's like some people, there's nuance to it. Like, you can get far in life doing the wrong thing. It doesn't mean you don't deserve what you have. But there's something coming too. There's something coming down the road too. People. There's delayed consequences, man. There's certain people that can get things out of life in the short term, and in the long term, it's like, you're gonna get what you deserve. Like, do things the right way, or you get what you deserve. And people are more or less talented at this. Like, people can work at KFC and be rude to people at the service counter, or they could, rob a whole country and fuck over its people and get rich off that. But 40 years later, you're gonna have the worst tragedy that ever happened in your life. So it's like, when is your punishment coming? I don't know when. It's different for everyone, but you will get what you deserve. Don't ever think that you won't. This is the thing, man. Like, I've said this forever. I remember I had a girlfriend once. I told her, or I was just talking to her. I said, if food is the best thing in your life, the best part of your day is eating food, there's something wrong. And she was shocked. She was like, what? She didn't agree. And it's just like, how many people out there are living a life, like, what are you doing? What is the focus of your life? If the focus of your life is to eat, you're not doing it right. That's an opinion. It's an opinion that I hold. But I do think it is correct. Like, if the best part of your day is eating food, and you're doing something wrong. That's just a fact. Man, there's so many people that are living out in the hair. I don't want to hear the comments about the hair today. Don't even give them to me today. But the general amount of people living out of their ego is a sickening thing, man. These people will go anywhere to try to get a boost out of their ego. It's like, dude, you can't get self-esteem from your ego. Your ego will not fill your self-esteem. Your ego is a temporary thing you pull from to get further along on a journey or something. Your ego is not going to be something that you can predicate your self-worth on. If you're doing that, you're an idiot. People will make shit up and pretend that it's real, and then that'll satisfy their ego. Like, that's how shallow it is. There's no substance to it. If you're living your life like that, like, you're a fucking idiot. And most people are. This is the thing, is most people are idiots. Most people are doing that. This is the choices that we see. People are making these types of choices in the country, in the nation, in the world, in the globe, in the universe, in the society, whatever, what have you, what will you? And it's just like, it needs to stop, because people, I think, not only is it annoying to deal with, but people are not getting what they need. I've said this before many times, that people are not getting what they need at all. They're not even getting close. And when you have to make up fake shit to feel good about, or look at someone else that's doing badly and feel good about yourself because they're doing badly, you're a sick fuck. Dude, there's some shit you can't ever forget, man. Like, you gotta remember in life, like, you are a disposable person. This is like, I'm not even trying to say, I know my hair is stupid. Please shut up. I don't even want to fucking hear it. Thank you. But legitimately, this is the fucking thing, man. Okay. But you gotta remember, dude. This is what I'm gonna say. But it's not gonna be. This isn't something to say like to be like insulting anybody or trying to be rude. But it's like, you gotta remember in life, like, you are disposable. Like, you really are. Like, the people around you, like, and I'm not trying to be like negative or like in any way trying to be like disrespectful to anybody or anything like that. What I'm saying is that people treat other people in a way that benefits them. So it's like, you have to have a reminder to yourself. You have to remember the fact that people are not necessarily going to like you just for you. People aren't going to necessarily value you just for you. Like, you are what you are to people because of what you are to people, not necessarily because of who you are. And that's the thing, is like, when you start to think and expect people to have your best interest in mind just because that's the case that you think it is, you'll just be disappointed over and over again, because people are not acting in any interest other than their own. I mean, there's a certain level that's true. I know I've had people argue this with me and they deny it, but it's like the altruism that people try to portray just doesn't really exist. Here's the thing, man. You are disposable. You are not irreplaceable. I don't care who you are. Like, I mean, great people like me, like, yeah, we like to. I mean, it's like, everybody wants to think that they're so special that the people in their lives are never going to betray them, are never going to hurt them, are never going to replace them, all that shit. You got to remember the fact, and this is the thing that kind of gives you the fucking power, the ultimate power, is that you can't really trust anybody, because everybody's capable of everything. So it's like, you're not necessarily immune to the ills of the world. I'm not getting at. I don't think I'm getting at this perfectly, but it does the kernel of the notion, which really brings forth the reality. The reality I'm trying to unearth here is this, okay? People treat each other in a way that benefits them. When you understand that, you realize that you are disposable. You are disposable. I don't care who it is, whether it's your mother, whether it's your brother, whether it's your wife, your husband, your children. Right? People are not necessarily going to ever see you as something that they can't get rid of. And that goes for people on both sides of it, whether it's you or whether it's someone else. You got to know this about yourself too. You're not necessarily immune. Like, the same criticism applies for yourself. It's not even criticism in that sense. It's more of it's just an analysis. It's an analysis to say, you have to remind yourself of the fact that nobody is immune to this. And at any time in life, it might happen to you where you get disposed of. It just might happen. I'm not saying that you walk around expecting it to happen. You don't walk around expecting it to happen. In fact, you have to trust people in life. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. Otherwise, you're going to go through life distrusting people, and you're going to bring distrustful emotion into the world, and you're simply going to get people that are untrustable around you. But at the back of your mind, in that place that you keep the fucking 1% of things that are really just yours, you have to remember that you are disposable, and you cannot expect people to not treat you like that forever. Like, I'm not saying it right, man, but it's like, there's a piece of it you can't forget, that just people are going to act in their self-interest. And at the end of the day, you might be the casualty of their self-interest at some point. Don't forget that. So that if and when it does happen, you're not completely fucking knocked off your fucking center. You're not completely blown out to sea because of it. You're not shipwrecked because of it. Because you know, yeah, that might happen. This person might betray me. This person might stab me in the back. This person might fuck me over. Like, this business deal might fall through. This friend might... Dude, your girlfriend might cheat on you. Your husband might cheat on you. Your fucking own family members might betray you. Like, it might happen. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm not saying that, many people go through... I don't think anybody goes through life without experiencing that in some way. And it's like, dude, the more you understand that that's just a reality of life. And it's your job to just pick it up and keep going when it does happen, as opposed to, this is what I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid people getting into this situation where you think that you are immune to that happening, or you think that it will never happen, or that life isn't like that. And because when you do that, when you live in a world where you're on fantasy island, where nobody can do anything wrong to you, when it inevitably happens, then I'm not saying it's going to be like, I'm not saying your wife is going to cheat on you. I'm not saying your business partner is going to stab you in the back, but it might happen. But like, at some point, somebody's going to fuck you over. And you gotta just know, you have to understand that might happen. Because as long as you have the knowledge of that as a possibility, when it does happen, because it will, in some way it will, it's not going to completely fucking destroy you. So you just got to remember a little bit of fucking knowledge that you're disposable. That's not to say that people are going to dispose of you, but it's possible. So don't forget it. And it's not in a way to be negative. It's in a way to protect yourself, man. Every human has a piece of themselves that's just for them. Every human has this little corner of your mind where it's just you, and nobody else is there with you. And you better keep some fucking real truths there, because if you don't, the world will become if you become completely part of the world will become surprising. That's the thing. Like, the world will become shocking and surprising if you become part of the world, because you got to understand the world isn't a part of you all the way. There's a piece of you that isn't with the world. And if you put yourself in the context where you're 100% invested in the things that happen in life, like, you have to extricate yourself. You have to remove a little piece of yourself to keep yourself grounded. You have to keep yourself in the position where you actually understand yourself in the context of what the world is, as opposed to thinking of yourself completely embedded in something. Because that thing is not all you. I think that accounts for a lot of that reality, where we do have people that act in certain ways that are in their own self-interest. Because if we were all completely embedded in the world, why would we ever fuck each other over like that? But it's like, that's just my understanding of it. It's like, man, if you're prepared, if you have an understanding and an awareness that something might happen, when it does happen, it's like, dude, it's like being prepared for a fucking wildfire or a hurricane. If you prepare for it, if you know it might happen, you can get ready. You can board up the windows or whatever the fuck you gotta do. Just to understand. And I'm not saying you just leave town. I'm not saying you sell your house because there might be a hurricane at some point. But I'm saying just knowing that it might happen gives you a little bit of a fucking leg up. And if it does happen, it's not as bad as if you're completely unaware of the fact that it might. And that's the same thing for our lives. We have situations in our lives that come by and blindside us. It's not a blindside if you knew it might be coming. It's like, it takes 30 years to understand that that's the fucking possibility. Because we live in a world where we expect the best out of people. It's a good thing to do. That's how you should behave. You should expect the best out of people. If you don't, you're gonna get what you get. This is where it's a little bit paradoxical, because like, you can't walk around distrusting everybody. If you do that, you're gonna get if you distrust everybody, you're just gonna get distrustful people coming into your life. But the reality is that not everybody is gonna be 100% trustworthy. And you have to allow for the possibility that they might bring out that side of them. No matter how good of a person, that's the thing too, like, no matter how good of a person that you think they are. Everybody has both sides to them, and everybody does good things, everybody does bad things. You don't know. You don't know when that person might decide to do something. And it's like, I'm not saying you walk around looking around. I'm not saying you walk around looking for it. Don't walk around looking for it. But it might happen. And it's like, don't be fucking shocked when it does. And you'll be fine. at that point, I think if you walk around like that, knowing this might happen, when it does happen, if it does happen, you'll be fine. But if you don't, and you're completely fucking hit by it, man, it could take you out for years. It could kill you.